Okay, so just continuing on from the last video, this one is similar, but I think the arithmetic, the numeracy is a bit more challenging. So let's take the first question we've got here. Speed of 42 miles an hour, and we've got a distance of 91 miles. So how long is that going to take? Well, let's think, visually. So we're trying to travel 91 miles, okay, and we're going at 42 miles an hour. So if I travel 42 miles in 1 hour, there you go, and then I'll travel another 42. Okay, so the total of that is 84 miles. Okay, so I know in 2 hours I've gone 84 miles. So the problem is this last little bit here, 91 miles take away 84, so that's our 7 miles. Okay, this is the top bit, 7 miles in here. It's kind of like how long, does that take? Just this last little bit. Okay, so that's the tricky bit because that's not a nice round number, and that's what we're going to struggle with. Okay, so 42 and 91. So speed is equal to distance over time, and we are trying to find time. So again, cover up the one that you know you don't need, and if we look at our triangle, if we cover up t, we're going to get d over s. So t is equal to d over s, just like in the last video. Okay, cover up t, and you can see that we're left with d over s. So we could substitute that in. We could say, well, I'm trying to go 91 miles, and my speed is 42 miles an hour. We could say that, absolutely. Two ways to think about that. We could say 91 divided by 42. We could just go straight into that and do our long division, which is something I'm quite rubbish at, to be honest. So 42 into 9 doesn't go, carry the 9. 42 into 91, that would be the 2, and that's the 2 we talked about up here. Okay, so we've got 2 whole hours, but we've got this remainder. So that'd be 84 to 91 would be 7, so a remainder of 7 in there. Okay, so how many times is 42 going to 70? It goes 1. What's the remainder from that? That's going to be 28, and that's where it starts getting complicated. Now I've got 280 in here. So now we're trying to do 280 divided by 42. So that's a little bit annoying. That's going to use up quite a lot of your of your mental arithmetic. Okay, so I think at that point we start saying I'm not a big fan of this. I'm going to abandon this method and try something else. Okay, if you did want to go ahead, you would find that that is 6, and what's the remainder on that? Yeah, and then with the remainder of 28, and it just keeps on rolling and rolling. Okay, but I don't quite like that method. My arithmetic's actually not as good as I'd like it to be, and I'm sure other people feel the same. Okay, so yeah, this method isn't my preferred method. I think you're better off in this case thinking on it as a fraction. So don't go down this route for this kind of question. If it's a nice easy number, then fine. But for this, let's think on it as a fraction. 91 divided by 42. Okay, so that's what we call a top-heavy fraction. Okay, so what that's kind of saying is we can rewrite it as a whole number and then a fraction. So I know I've got 2 wholes, then 84 to give me 7. Okay, so I can rewrite this fraction as this. I've got 2 wholes, and this is what's left over. Okay, but in the same way, if I said that I had 5 halves. Okay, we can visualize 5 halves, can't we? There's 5 halves there. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But how else can I write that? I can write that as 2 and 1 half. Okay, 2 wholes and a half. And that's all I've done here. Okay, once you get up to 42, that's you got 1. Okay, so 42 goes into 91 2 times, and I'm left over with 7. Kind of the same as what you would have done back in primary school with your long division. If someone said, well, do 91 divided by 42, you'd say, well, it goes in 2 times, remainder 7. That's the exact same as what we've done here. Okay, and at this point, we can then do this much easier than what I think we can do with decimals. So 7 divided by 42, well, what number goes into 7 and what number goes into 42, so we can simplify top and bottom. Well, 7 is a prime number, so hopefully 7 goes into top and bottom. So if I divide the top by 7, I'll get 1. If I divide 42 by 7, I'll get 6. So I'm left with 2 and 1/6. So 2 and 1/6 hours would be your time. So what it's saying is that little distance in here, the 7 miles, that's going to take 1/6 of an hour to get there. Okay. Now, that sounds a bit odd. You would never say to someone 2 and 1/6. So what's 1/6 of an hour? Well, let's think of our clock. How many minutes are an hour? 60 minutes. So 1/6 of that is going to be 10 minutes. Because we can break our clock into, this is where my drawing skills will fail me. We can break it in, that's really bad. We can break it into sixths. Okay, so we've got 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes. Okay. So if someone says, how long will it take? You could say that's 2 hours and 10 minutes. If they want it as a decimal, you would say that's 2.166 hours. Okay, and again, the 6 is easier to work out as a decimal because up here, we're going to get the same answer both ways, yeah? But doing 1 divided by 6 is just a lot easier. 6 into 1 doesn't go, carry the 1. 6 into 10, that'd be 1, remainder 4. Then that's 6, remainder 4, 6, and we keep on going. Okay, so we still get the 0.166, so the answer is 2.166. The same as this way, I think this is better. So for this question, I think about fractions. All right. This was a question about ratio. If there's 325 pupils that need 1 teacher for every 25 pupils, how many teachers? Well, we'd start this off by saying we've got 1 teacher to 25 pupils. And then all we're trying to do is get to the number 325. So what do I multiply 25 by to get to 325? So that would be 4, 12, 13. Yeah? There's 4 25s are 100. I'm looking to get to 325. 4 times 3 is 12 plus 1 times 13. So what I do to one side, I do to the other side, times by 13, and I get 13. Okay, so you need 13 teachers for 325 pupils. That's just a simple question of ratio, in the same way that that question is effectively saying if you've got, I don't know, 1 pinch of salt for every, plate of food on the table, how many pinches of salt will you need for 20 plates? You just multiply it up. So 1 teacher for 25 kids. How do I get to 325? I'll have to times that by 13. Okay. And the very last question was, and it's another random question, if there was washing detergent, it's getting a bit messy now, apologies, and there was 200 washes and it cost £15, what does 1 wash cost? Okay, it's actually a very similar thing. What we're doing is how do we get from 200 to 1? Well, we divide by 200. So we've got to do the same to 15. We've got to divide 15 by 200.